Welcome to the garage, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about why I think that the Mark 7, 7.5 Golf R's GTIs are one of the best, the absolute best enthusiast performance vehicles that anybody can buy. And for me, why I went with the 2016 Golf R, Mark 7 Golf R, and why I think that really nothing else really touches it, under, I don't know, under $50,000. And I think, okay, so I'm gonna, like, if you look at what your options are, if you're looking for a performance, a performance vehicle with a manual transmission, all-wheel drive, anything like the last 10, 15 years, if you want something that, that's performance-oriented, that you feel connected, that has like a really enjoyable driving experience, there's already a short list of vehicles. What you're looking at is potentially Subaru WRX, Subaru WRX STI. You're looking at, this car, Subaru or Mitsubishi Lancer Evolutions, which I don't even know how long ago they stopped making those things. And then you have Porsche 911, like the C4Ss and the 911 turbos. There's not a whole heck of a lot other options other than that if you want all-wheel drive, a good amount of horsepower, manual transmission. That's kind of the list that you're dealing with. You could go back. You could go back in time, a little bit further. I guess if you want to go back, you have a handful of, maybe a couple flavors of BMWs. But I want to say that you have to go back. Let's see. I want to say like 2016, 2017 is about the last BMW that you can find, even a smaller one if you want all-wheel drive manual transmission. You can go back a little bit further than that, and there's some options. But they never really, none of those really appealed to me personally. And I'm going to kind of go through the main competitors and tell you why, to me, this is the ideal. This is the pinnacle. And I actually think that for most people, and I'm somebody that's maybe dreamed about getting a Porsche C4S 911 turbo, something like that. But I think this makes a whole heck of a lot more sense. And I think this is probably one of those things where this is a car that I'll look back on if I were ever to sell it and move on. And even if I were to get anything more exotic, like one of those Porsches, I think I'd probably look back with regret at selling this, and I'd realize that those other, even more expensive, kind of fancier options, not really all they're cracked up to be. And I'd appreciate some of the things that I would have lost by not having this thing anymore. Now, in more recent years, there's a couple other options. Well, not really a couple, just one other option, and that's the GR Corolla. I am a big fan of Toyotas, and I really considered them, but man, the dealership markups on those things when they came out, at first it was like $8,000 or $9,000, $10,000 in some places, and yeah, they're cool. I'm glad Toyota was making them. But here, let me just kind of go back and kind of run through what it is that kind of turned me off of all the other options, and why I think this is really one of the, this one makes the most sense. So first, let's talk about like the WRX, and I think the only ones like it wasn't until like 2009 that the WRX had enough power to kind of interest me. Even the base model. I mean, the STIs have been cool for a while, but the bottom line is, for me, it's the aesthetic of those things. I've never been one that's into, you know, the fins and all the dramatic kind of hood scoops and all the kind of look at me stuff. Like my style is, I think what I prefer. I'm trying to think how I can term it. I don't know. I'm gonna think on it and see if it comes to me. But I like the subtlety. I like clean lines. I like elegance. I like an interior that makes me feel like I'm driving something just a little bit special. And that's really where the WRXs, you know, the kind of boy racer theme, and the interior, which always to me felt, at least most of the years, it felt like kind of subpar, just substandard. I just didn't like the way I felt in the surroundings. I thought they were fine I thought they were okay to drive. I like the potential of the aftermarket that they had. But let's be honest, like if you're looking at, you know, any kind of, and I'm more like the hatchbacks. So if you're going back in time to the good, you know, to the STIs when they still had the hatchback, the reliability in those things is garbage. There's you almost never see one that hasn't had the engine replaced or hasn't had who knows how many issues. I'm not even sure if there's really anything that you can do. I'm not super familiar with the platform, I'll be honest. But it's not a whole heck of a lot of good things that I hear about any of those older ones as far as reliability. You almost never see one with like over 100,000 miles that hasn't had an engine replacement. So take that combined with the fact that the interior and the exterior just doesn't do it for me. Those are not cars that I would, you know, you're going to the supermarket, you get out and you turn back and you're like, you know, it just makes you feel a little good that's yours, that you're walking away from, and you just kind of turn over your shoulder, you know, and you glance at it as you walk away. Now these Golf Rs, the Mark 7 GTIs, they kind of do that for me. I like the clean. I like you know, subtle. I think it's a beautiful design. So let's see, and if you look at like the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, that's going to be another one of those vehicles. It's got a lot of great things going for it. I've never actually, that's one of the few that I've never actually driven. But again, the interior, absolute trash. And when I get a car like this, the intent of this car is, this is my daily. This is my daily. I'm spending, you know, most time driving this thing around, more time driving this around than anything else. I want to feel good I want to feel good when I'm sitting in there. And I think this generation, this interior, which is admittedly even more filthy than the last time I showed you guys, still haven't gotten around to cleaning it up proper. But this interior just does it for me. It doesn't make me feel quite as cool as the the red and the blue of the earlier model GTIs. It made me feel like I was flying that TIE Fighter. But this feels a little more upscale, a little more classy. You still get that blue, you know, the blue lighting. You get the analog gauges. You get the Apple CarPlay. Now, I don't think these things were super exciting right off the dealership floor. But the reason, one of the other reasons I really like these things is for the massive potential that they have. If you guys have ever looked into any kind of Mark 7 GTI, even earlier ones, earlier versions like the Mark 6, the Mark 5s, when they introduced the EA888 Gen 2, a simple tune from like APR, which for a long time they were the best, maybe they still are, I don't know. Integrated engineering, just a software tune would unleash, you know, a ridiculous surge of power from these things that would turn them into, I don't know, much more exciting vehicles than they were initially. And they weren't, it's not like they're bad from the start. And then if you actually look at, you know, some simple bolt-on modifications and you don't overdo it and you don't abuse it, it can handle bolt-on modifications. And in any of these Mark 7s, you can kind of push them up to 400, like around the 400 horsepower mark, you know, and similar torque on these Golf Rs without really introducing major reliability issues. So massive aftermarket potential. But one of the reasons that I think this platform makes the most sense one of the factors is cost. You can get one of these for about, you know, anywhere in the range of like $15,000 all the way up to like $38,000 based on like mileage and condition. And there's kind of a sweet spot right around 20 grand where you can get an incredible Mark 7, very clean, pretty well taken care of, right? Around 100,000 miles probably, you know, or between the 17, 20 grand mark. You can probably find one for about that right now. And I think just because of, you know, Volkswagens in general, people are a little bit more afraid of these things. And I think the value of them drops a little. They drop significantly more than things like Toyotas or Hondas. And it's because there's a lack of shops that are willing to work on these kind of things. And so if you're not willing to do some things yourself, it can be kind of scary. And, you know, you sometimes see these going for better prices. But one of the best things about this that I don't think is talked about enough is just how prevalent the EA888 Gen 3 engine is, you know, in the automotive world. So you can go to Volkswagen Jetta, Volkswagen Beetle, Volkswagen Tiguan, the Passat, probably some other SUVs I'm not even tracking, the Golf, the Jetta. There's a range of years where every single one of those models had an EA888 Gen 3. And then you can bring in all the Audis that had it. So the A3s, the S3s, you know, some of the SUV flavors, I believe, don't quote me on that one. And 2017, starting in 2017, the Porsche Macan had the Golf R EA888 Gen 3. So you have a massive kind of number of cars out there that use this same platform. And due to that, there is a prevalence of high quality, I think for the most part, a lot of high quality aftermarket part options. And so what that translates into is as far as parts, a very reliable and potentially cost effective engine, as far as like if you're a DIYer and you're willing to work on the car yourself, you have a very wide selection of quality parts that you can use to fix and work on this thing. Because the MQB platform, which the Mark 7 is based on, is extremely prevalent, not just in the United States, but in the whole, across the globe, in the whole world. And my take is that there is a sweet spot where manufacturers are still making parts to support a platform. And it's this moving, kind of sliding scale of time, right? And so over time, the parts become harder to find. The vehicles are going to fall apart more, because let's be honest, everything falls apart. There's nothing in this world that doesn't fall apart over time. And so every vehicle is on kind of like a sliding scale towards its eventual demise, right? And there's a window of time, that you have an opportunity to enjoy a vehicle, to maintain it while parts are still prevalent. And then as time goes on, that window will fade. And so right now, just due to the massive amount of parts available, and the massive amount of vehicles that use this engine and these parts, this thing is going to have this has a lot of life left in it, if you're willing to do the work and take care of it. So I mentioned that people, I think, are scared. A lot of people are scared to work on these platforms for some reason, but the engine itself is not. It has its issues, but I feel like once you dive into it, because of the improvements that were made in Gen 3 over Gen 2, you actually have a very, very solid base. And some of the things like water pumps, PCV valve, PCV systems, even the cam cover reseal that I did, a lot of stuff really isn't that bad. And I think some of the failures of those parts are really due to I think some of it's attributed to like flat rate technician pay in the system, and the lack of maybe attention to detail in the people that are doing work on these cars, because it's easy to screw up, and it's easy if you don't put things on clean, or if you follow the fastest procedure and you don't have visibility of what you're doing, just not to clean up gasket mating surface areas, or not to it's very easy to do things wrong on this platform. And so I kind of suspect that a lot of issues are just the result of human error in the process. But if you know the little tricks and you're willing to pay attention to the details, I think that this platform, which has potential, which means it kind of sucks initially, but with a little bit of aftermarket, maybe it's a lot of aftermarket. It's however much aftermarket you want to put into it. You can turn these things into absolute weapons on the road. Just a complete beast of a vehicle. So I think for somebody that's starting out, or that's really into cars and that just wants an amazing platform, I think in the GTI, you get a phenomenal platform that is simple and easy to maintain. Because when you don't have to worry about about that drive shaft going from the transmission to the back wheels, to the back of the car. Even things like I think like dropping, replacing the clutch and doing that upgrade. It's so much easier than I think it is on this all-wheel drive platform. And then you have a lighter car. You have very similar, limits as far as the engine and how far you can push it for power gains to the Golf R. And then the front wheel drive system is just so good, especially if you have like LSD. It's so good that just starting, I would highly recommend a Mark 7 GTI. I think there could be arguments that it's a better platform than this, but I want the all-wheel. If you want the all-wheel drive, then you go for this, and you can get a little more power out of it. So just with some bolt-ons and with a little bit of attention to some maintenance details, learning how to work on the thing yourself, you can make this into something that maybe even like supercars can't touch. And I think you're in. I think it's going to put you into like 911 type C4S like territory with a budget price tag, with parts that are just like super prevalent all around the world, that gives you the luxury feel inside, the clean lines, I don't know, the high-end feel that you don't get in any of the other cars that I mentioned, like the GR Corolla. The GR Corolla feels pretty good inside, but at the end of the day, like you're sitting in a Corolla. And that is not lost. That was not lost on me when I sat in one of those. They do feel very cool. Like they have done a lot to make it feel special. But I also don't trust that 3-cylinder platform for longevity. I don't trust the aftermarket with the little amount of time that it's been around. And it's literally almost double the cost of getting into one of these. And so for my money, I think this is where it's at. Now, in 3 years, when they release the all-wheel drive, mid-engine, 4-cylinder Celica, okay, now we're talking about a competitor, but we're talking about a competitor that's probably going to be around, in the 60s. And I can get a Porsche 911 C4S for that price. So, and when that comes out, I could have all the mods paid for on this. This car is paid off. And instead I've got money and investments building. And I'm enjoying kind of a secret when I'm driving this car. Because nobody needs to know, So I think my philosophy and what I like is subtle, but always dangerous. And this platform gives you that. I don't think anything can touch it. And unfortunately, with the Mark 8, they screwed up the interior. They screwed up the infotainment. They screwed up like the tactile. It's too intrusive, and you've got more of the electric nannies. You got. There's good things about it. Don't get me wrong. I would still like to have one, but I wouldn't like to have one for $50,000 with the issues that it has. I want the engine. I do like a more. I like the rear end. I like the all-wheel drive system a little bit better, but it is heavier. So even this system has advantages over the newer one. And I do plan to add front and rear LSDs to this. But the appearance isn't going to change drastically. I'm going to add some wheels, but the thing is going to be a weapon. So subtle, but always dangerous, and nobody else needs to know it but me. And I get to enjoy it. Push the limits of legal enjoyment on the road. And when I park the thing at frickin' Walmart, I don't have to like stress about it like I would if it was some kind of exotic, you know, car that everybody's going to be looking at, or somebody wants to key just because, you know, they're not at that point in their life that they can afford it. I mean, this is not too far removed from an Econo Box Golf, but it sure doesn't feel like it in the interior. And again, subtle but dangerous. Misunderestimated. Anyway, yeah, I love these things. I for the money, nothing touches them, and we're in that little sweet spot of time where the parts are there, the lifespan, the support is there, and Volkswagen as a company, I think they're gone. You know, they don't make anything I want anymore. So this is this is the golden era, and so I'm gonna hang on to it for as long as I can until I find a better platform. And right now I don't think that there is one. And at least not for the money, not for like the pure enjoyment that I can get, the least amount of stress. So anyway, yeah, don't go buy one of these. Go buy one of those other ones. And everybody should be scared to work on these things. No, I'm just kidding. No, these are it's very doable. You guys can do it. You guys can maintain it, but you have to do your research, and you got to learn about stretch bolts and how to deal with those. They are everywhere on these things. Not the only platform that uses them, but you got to figure out how to deal with them. But if you're willing to, the potential is just off the charts with these things. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll eventually get to do some actual cool stuff to it. So, see you in the next one.